Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel um, to the Supergirl review. The Supergirl review. And I'm going to do this a little bit differently and make it really brief at the beginning and then really long toward the end, okay? We're going to go to what I would call sort of a lot of details and give you my take and my understanding of a whole lot of the stuff. So the spoilers later. First, the short review of the movie. If you are watching other reviews, I'm putting this up sort of late. I have gone to see the movie. I have gone to see the movie 4 times, 4 different ways to see the movie. Okay, it's standard, all the different kind of showings that you have. I haven't done them all, but I'm not going to do them all. Uh, I may go and see if it's an IMAX at the IMAX theater that we have nearby, um, just to see if it actually has stuff in IMAX because it's supposed to be seen in IMAX, and that was the promotion anyway. At least that was part of it. You see the big IMAX poster, but what I saw it in the big screen that I saw it in, my version of it without it being actual IMAX. I didn't see any places where it was filling up the entire screen. It was a widescreen format, so, 16 whatever it is, 16:9 or something like that, whatever the aspect ratio is. I forget right this second. But anyway, um Supergirl movie, uh directed by Craig Gillespie. Gillespie? Gillespie. Sorry. Gillespie. I, I went to find out how to pronounce his name before starting this, and it still didn't do it. Starring Millie Alcock as the titular character, Supergirl. David Cornsweet as Superman, who comes in. Eve Ridley, which is Ruthie Marie uh, um, Knoll, Knol, and of course, Matthias Schoenaerts, I think, is Krim, um, and written by Anna Noguera. It's supposed to be based on the Tom King comic book of the name Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Um, And this is just titled Supergirl. It's not titled Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow or anything else. Storyline, according to IMDb, says Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl, joins forces with an unlikely companion on an interstellar journey of vengeance and justice when an unexpected adversary strikes too close to home. And if you've seen the trailers, you know that how the storyline is supposed to go. The plot idea doesn't really leave much for the imagination. That Crypto is shot. He's poisoned with a paralytic that's going to stop his heart in 3 days. So she has this journey to go on to save Crypto. And then, of course, the girl is trying to get vengeance or revenge for her family being murdered. And this here says also known as Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Filming locations include Iceland, production companies, DC Studios, Saffron Company, Troll Court, and Entertainment. Troll Court is, of course, James Gunn. Um, it's a very interesting way of saying things. I'm not going to get into all the details of this thing. Just want to talk about the movie in its basic way, real quick, before getting into spoiler territory and things like that. So, uh, what I can say right away, as far as non-spoiler, just movie review. What do you say? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it mid? Is it what? What's the star rating? That sort of thing. So, giving this to nobody, and there are plenty of views out there, plenty of, I should say, reviews out there that are talking about this without being fans of the source material, without having read the comics or read what it was supposed to be based on or anything like that. They don't really know a lot of things. This is the kind of person you have to teach who they are. What the story has to fit for the regular person in the street that doesn't really know anything about this. Okay, it has to be a story that can be told, that can uh, that can resonate with you, and that can carry on to an end, have arcs in the character and stuff like that. To and effects that are good, and lighting, and the cinematography. It's all got to be appealing to a normal person, somebody out there, just regular guy, regular girl, regular people. Uh, who's the audience? All that stuff. Is it for adults? Is it for children? Is it for a mixture between? Is it all family movie? What is this? Um, and that's where we kind of leave you. It's just like, what is this? Where does it go? Who is it for? What is the lesson? Where's the arcs? What? It's not good. It's not good filmmaking or movie making, storytelling. It's not good. There's some adequate special effects. There's some adequate shots. There's some interesting um, design and production and stuff like that. There's some things that kind of like interesting. Let me go there. Let's take it another step. What about that? What about that? What about that? But it doesn't. It either doesn't go anywhere or whatever it is. Now, a slight spoiler, if you will. This movie has been in a terrible sort of production history. So, um, to tip my hand, I am going to I hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Hashtag release the Ayer cut. I still want to see David Ayer's cut of uh, the of Suicide Squad. Forgive me, the word is in the title of the movie. Okay, that's the movie. Not saying anything else about it. But I want to see his version of how that was supposed to be, just like Zack Snyder has gotten we have gotten the Snyder cut of Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League. It is spectacular, and I don't even know a multiple times better than the 2017 atrocity known as the uh, Justice League from Joss Whedon. Um, and I'm not going there and going into all these details. I also say release the gun cut of Superman from 2026. There's, and I know it's being denied by all kinds of things, but it was reported, and the denials come from people that don't want to prove anything, and and are usually caught in the lie. And we'll go into some of that in the details, but there's supposed to be 25 minutes more that Gunn had in his cut of Superman 2026. About 25 minutes more. Jokiness and silliness and stuff like that is what most people are saying. Whatever it was, I want to see it. But it had to be cut down because studio executives and the people that were in charge said, no, 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 this is not going to happen, having to do with test screens and stuff like that. And it was changed and altered. And you can see that something's missing in that movie, regardless of how bad I think the movie is in itself, and the storyline, and the characters and all this stuff that's in. You can go watch other videos where I've talked about all of that. But this movie also released the Gillespie cut. Release his cut, which is supposed to be 25 minutes long, or approximately 2 hours and 13 minutes would be the runtime of the Craig Gillespie director's cut of this film. And we'll go into the spoiler details about that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it suffers greatly from editing changes, etc., etc. And I want to see what the director was trying to put out there. I want to see that completed, put together, put it on the Blu-ray, DVD, 4K combo, and on the special features on streaming or whatever, and let people see what this director's cut would have been. There are plenty of movies. You can just go through a pantheon of movies that have director's cuts, and and many of them are barely anything different. Many of them, but there are many of them as well that make a difference in the movie and actually add significantly to the movie. The one thing that I can think of right off the top of my head is that there's the A Knight's Tale that had Heath Ledger, and I forget some of the other characters' names that were in it. Forgive me, I wasn't thinking about doing this. They have a theatrical version, and then they have an extended director's cut version, and I like the director's cut version better and stuff. I appreciate it more, but it's not really different than the theatrical cut. This is where they kind of meet together. They're about the same, except there's a slight difference in certain ways that the story is told in a couple of places. Just a minor couple of things. So it's that version versus this version, um, for this is, and it has to do, I think, mostly with speeches from forgetting his name, but plays um, Jarvis and Vision in the Marvel universe. Yeah, my brain is just not connecting what his name is. But anyway, um, but I think it's mostly he gives longer speeches and more speeches in the director's cut, which is amazing. It's great. I love those scenes. It doesn't 100% add a great deal to the film, though, as far as the story and everything. It fits just fine in the theatrical version. That's A Knight's Tale. If you've never heard of it, go check it out. It's an amazing movie. I love it. One of my favorite movies just of all time, and it's just because I watched it and I was like, "Well, wow, this is amazing. I love it." And love them both. Like I said, I love both versions of it. Um, but now back to this Supergirl. It's just not very good. I think you'll be disappointed if you go into it with high expectations. You really, according to all of the other reviews, you'll be disappointed. There was a review, I didn't watch it yet. It said, "I liked the movie, uh, but I wanted more." That was the title of the thing. Um, so many people in the reviews that were supposed to be, they were the hype people of the film, and they are reporting that it is not as good as they wanted it to be. Whatever they are, whoever they are, and they may even say it was still great. I think there's some out there, I've not found them, that say this is a very great movie. Um, and I disagree. It has nothing to do with the excuses that have been given and stuff like that. There's no such thing as really an excuse. You go watch the movie and you see it just doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit. It doesn't appeal. It it is it. It's an hour and 47 minutes. That includes credits, and I assume 7 minutes for credits. Say an hour and 40 minutes long. An hour and a half plus 10 minutes. This is an hour and 40 minutes long of movie. And it feels a lot longer. I've heard that from several reviewers as well. It feels long. It's like somehow drags out. It makes you feel like you've been watching it for, somebody said, 3 hours. They were just throwing a number out there, just. But anyway, I think you're going to be disappointed. The characters don't develop right. They're all mixed. It's a weird idea they try to give to things. The Ruthie character has weird moments of just damsel in distress, girl boss, blah blah blah, and it doesn't necessarily try to shove girl boss in your face, but then at other times it sort of seems like it does. There are little lines, little blips that I'm like, oh, there we go. Uh, but it could be interpreted as something differently. And like I said, I don't want to give you a bunch of spoilers, so I'm not going to say all these things. in this spoiler-free portion of it. Millie Alcock, she's I'd say she's a good actress. I've watched her in a couple of other things, um, but I'm not impressed really with what she did here, and I don't think she was rightly cast. My personal opinion, I don't think she was rightly cast for it, and I, she just she. There's a couple of reasons it just doesn't work. Doesn't work for me, but doesn't work also, like I said, for the regular person. Now, I'm not the greatest Supergirl fan in the comics and stuff like that, so it's not like I know everything about every history that she has. I've read the early ones from the Golden Age and read some of the Silver Age comics have with her in them, and I've read some of when John Byrne rebooted it in the '80s. I've read what comes from that in his run period, which is different. It's just different. So it's not. I wouldn't judge the character based on that. I've also read the Tom King comic book, so I know what to expect from that. Um, but some other people would be more um, appropriate to judge the character possibilities and stuff. For me, I even can put all that aside and say you're putting it into a movie. You have got to do some things. If you're going to introduce the character in a certain way and then arc that character to a different thing, you've got to show that. And there's no arc. There's nothing in it. There's disappointments as far as most people are concerned. Some people think that it was right what goes on um, toward the end. Other people are I just say disappointed completely in it. So it's a it's very mixed in people's assessment of different things because it just I think it's because it's throwing you here, there, back and forth, up and down, and through the wall in front of you, and hits you in the back of the head, and everything else that you don't know what to think when you're done. And I've watched it 4 times, and I still don't know what to think. And I've kind of watched it 4 times to one try to understand maybe what possibly the Gillespie cut would be. Where was he possibly going with it? Was he closer to the comic books than it turned out, or was he further away from it? And they tried to add stuff into the movie that he didn't want in there. What is the deal? I'm kind of I tried to watch for things I thought were like cut in and new things, and I know that how the story goes, and we'll talk about that in the later part of it. But I didn't really see that say organically. It's not like the hairdo completely changes, and there's huge differences between one shot and the other shot. It seems fairly consistent, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good. I don't think the cinematography is very good. I don't think that the effects really are where they ought to be. Um, and I don't think the acting is where it ought to be. They were all acting, and they all do some kind of acting job, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Uh, you know, even the better of the acting and what comes close to working, for some reason falls short. It just doesn't fit and doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It's just all around. Even with me having extremely low expectation, I wasn't expecting this movie to come out with what projections are trying to claim may be out there, and we'll go through that in the spoiler section area. But I was not expecting it to do well at all, and for various reasons, am looking forward to this not working at all. and failing in the box office and all of that, and allow this merger to happen. And you've already heard my hashtag. So, but I am interested in seeing, like I said, both James Gunn's cut of Superman 2026. Quit lying about it and put it out there. 25 minutes extra. Throw it back in there and let's see what happens. See if we can laugh some more. Whatever. See what the jokes are. And number two, uh, uh, release the Gillespie cut, because I want to see the director's cut of Supergirl in a 2026, 2025 Superman. Did I say 26? I hope not. 2025 Superman, 2026 Supergirl. Um, so that's enough, and we're gonna go into spoilers. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, just put yourself aside. I want to talk about the production problems and stuff like that with this. I don't think that Craig Gillespie is necessarily the production problem or part of the problem. Uh, with this credit, he also has uh, one of your friends and neighbors credit, The Better Sister. This is a show I wanted to watch, and he did one episode in that. Dumb Money. I want to see that movie. It's about the GameStop sales and stuff like that happened, and whatever it's exactly about. I'm interested in it. I'm not sure what Mike is. TV miniseries. Mike did 4 episodes, but anyway, did some other shows. Cruella. Uh, my daughter really loved Cruella. I thought it was very interesting, and I think it was well done. Um, and then I, Tanya, I haven't been able to see that one yet. Um, some fantastic actors that are in it, of course. The Finest Hours, I enjoyed that with Chris Pine and the rescue operation there. So I think that was well done. $1 Million Arm, I enjoyed that. It's got a good um, story to it. I'm not as high. It's not really high up on my like sports true story based stuff, but it still it's good and it's well done. I don't know Lars and the Real Girl. These people get into that, and also Mr. Woodcock, which has what's his name, Billy Bob Thornton, and so forth. So anyway, um, now going to Supergirl and who's in the seats. Anna Nogueira, guess it is. Sounds Brazilian. Nogueira. Say it that way. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not. Writer, Supergirl, actress, Hightown Prepartum, Yours, Ours, We Win, The Blacklist. So no, 4 episodes of Blacklist. Never Here. It's in the Vampire Diaries for 5 episodes. Well, I might have seen her in that one, but I don't remember. Michael J. Fox show. Batteries Down My Day. Good. Um, Good Session. Blue Bloods. She's in 13 episodes of the Michael J. Fox show. El Jefe, Baby Daddy, and Sarah and D. Writer, Supergirl, and We Win. We Win is a short. And upcoming Untitled DC Studios Wonder Woman movie and Untitled Baby Love Project and Teen Titans, which is saying it's in pre-production. Plot is under wraps. Anyway, um, so that's the writer. Not much to it, and honestly, the writing is poor. It's not well written. There's nothing really memorable in this movie. No no lines that are memorable. Um, the Anyway, going to production, not production per se, but um, let's go through the numbers real quick. The numbers for Supergirl they are saying, right, are they're dismal or abysmal. Um, I wrote some things down. It was 11.1 million pre, and then 18 million, 11.1 million pre Friday, 18 million for the Friday totals, tracking to do 38 million to 40 million, and it's steadily been dropping. We're going to look at it if it was making 50 or 55 million as well. The opening day global 13 million, and then 15 million, or sorry, 18 million. Total 29.1 million. Now add those two up. That is 23 or sorry, 20, not 29. That's 31 million if we just leave it without the decimal points. So there's 2 million missing somehow from this global total that they're telling us. And whatever that is, it's just not adding up. So I told AI when I was looking through this that it wasn't adding up. So they went through and said, well, the production budget is 170 million, and Deadline Cosmic Book News has reported it's 186 million. Um, the numbers, I want to say that they have it that same way, but they showed 7.8 million pre, and then 18 million totals. I said, well, that didn't add up. So what is it? Well, the AI goes and says it's 7.8 million and 10.75 million actual Friday, which makes it 18.55 million total. But they're not saying 18.55 million on the numbers. They're not reporting it yet on Box Office Mojo. So, where are these numbers coming from? Maybe forecasts, maybe some of these little other outlets and stuff, but I generally try to go by the numbers and Box Office Mojo, because those are, speaking generically, is kind of the official numbers that people take. Now, that's all great. Okay, projecting to open at 40 million for the weekend, at 18 million, not 18 million. No, they're claiming 18 million for Friday. To make 40 million on the 18 million means they got to make 22 million over Saturday and Sunday. Can they do that? I mean, they can. Sure, I assume. Um, but I would be surprised if it does make that. I think the word of mouth, which is essentially every single review saying this is disappointing, this is not what we wanted, this is not good. There's some places in it that are absolutely bad, and the vast majority of the people that went to see it, to review it, said this is dreadfully terrible. This is so bad, and they would never see it again. I'm sitting there watching it 4 times so that I can evaluate it and analyze it the best of my ability. I didn't give it a star rating in my non-spoiler review, but I mean, I'm still, you know, I'm still torn about it. I hate to even give it a 2 out of 5 or a 3.5 out of 10. Maybe 3.5 out of 10. That's probably the best I can do right now. It's not better than the Superman movie, but it's different and it's got its own different problems. It's got all kinds of plot holes, just crazy plot holes. You spoiler, huge spoiler. Let's just end this movie at the very beginning. This is how it should have ended. This is how they're going to do it. The brigands land at the girl's house, Ruthie's house. Her parents are up there in the living room. They look out. There's the brigands. They're standing there, just coming down their their ramp from their ship. Right? They let several of them step out, and Krim come in. He sits down at the table. He they throw in a joke about pie being there. He eats the pie, stabs it completely in the wrong spot for continuity's sake. but going on. Then when he kills the son who jumps out to scare the little girl, doesn't really scare the girl, but he gets killed by this huge uh, axe, axe. Anyway, um, of Krim's, and Krim's design is just ridiculous, and the whole thing about the brigands is ridiculous as far as design wise. There's reasons why they did it. I'm not going to get into all of them. I'm kind of going to stay with certain things about this. But kills the boy, and then the wife grabs the knife, which is not in the same place where it was where he put it down. No, it's just this is all continuity problems. Maybe in the editing room, maybe this is all what happened. But you should hire somebody for continuity. Sit there and say, "Look, the dailies, this is not adding up. You got to either reshoot it or somebody's got to fix it in post production somehow. This is not going to work. People will notice this is not going to work for you." And but she grabs a knife and tries to kill Krim. Of course, fails with a throw from Krim. She's dead in the corner. He grabs the knife, and then before he stabs, though, um, the dad, and I can't remember exactly whether it was right after the boy was hurt. I think it was before she grabbed the knife, but I'm not totally sure. The father reaches down and presses some button like a home security system, where these mines, bombs, jump up out of the ground and attach themselves to the ship, and the ship explodes and catches the side of the house on fire. Which no, that just is not well done there. That's poorly written. Um, and may have been redone. Okay, so the whole thing shortened and everything. But how it should have been is going to be like, it's the brigands. First they open the doors, they know it's the brigand ship. He presses the button, boom, blows the guy up. Maybe they got to rebuild half the house. Movie over. No story. No story from that end. Fact of the matter is that this is it had potential to be telling a story if they had the right ideas about the story and how to tell it. But they don't. They don't. Um, the Sound of Freedom is a great movie. This has a possible storyline that could have been that, and could have worked to that um, part, and then fit the characters in there working that storyline. They didn't. This is kind of a side storyline. It's kind of a, I don't know how to handle this situation. I don't know how to deal with this human trafficking stuff. There's reasons why they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what to think about it. But I'm not getting into that all right now. But yeah, movie wise, money wise, like I said, the writing is atrocious. But if it's projected to open at 40 million, if if it gets the same attention overseas and domestically, the same split, and has the same legs as Superman, which I don't think it will, because most of the reviewers I've heard said this is not good CGI on the main plot device of this dog named Crypto. He's not as cute. He's not as uh, well done, and he's not as likable and stuff like that as he sort of was from the Superman movie. That's the idea, that people like him less now. Um, Maybe there's people that just like dog. You see the dog and you're just crazy. You're kind of like Kara in this, where whatever the dog does, you're gonna let him do whatever he does because you just think it's cute for him to run havoc. and that's your prerogative, I guess, for whether or not you like it. But the vast majority of people dislike the dog. They are not attached to the dog. They are not making it a John Wick kind of situation where they appreciate the dog. Oh my goodness, no, they're not. So, um, be that as it may, though, if it gets its 40 million projected weekend, and if it has the legs and domestic split of Superman from 2020, 2025, that means the total would be about 113,333. I'm sorry, 113,331,911. Let's go with 115 million. Okay, approximately 115 million. The split would be domestic total about 65 million, about 49 million, or 50 million, to try to make the numbers add up for you easily. Uh, Internationally, in its whole run. And you know that Superman went early to digital, but also stayed in the theaters for another week and a half, maybe two, um, after it went to digital. I could see this movie being, finishing up its run, being shipped to digital very quickly. If it made $50 million on opening weekend, that goes to 141.5 or 142 million total run. 81 or 82 domestic and 60 million international. 55 million would give it 156 million overall. Again, calculating just the same legs. 89 million domestically, 67 million or thereabouts in internationally. Not even making its proposedly or reportedly or whatever you want to say, not making back the 170 million that they're claiming for the movie. Now going through the history, and Deadlines also says 186 million. Um, they they've they've stopped saying 170 million sometimes, and they go, "Oh, it's 175 million," and then they start to claim other things. Now, that's where we're going to get into this. It's like there's Superman had a supposed budget of 225 million when they said this is the budget. That's after tax incentives and rebates and stuff like that at best. Okay, they're claiming that that's what it is. Now they're just saying it. No proof has been given whatsoever. The only proof that's out there is a tax document in Ohio that says the total production budget is 363.8 million, if I remember correctly. Might be point 0.6 or something like that, but it's 363 million plus. Okay, that's the total. Now they're claiming it's 140 million less for tax incentives and rebates, and they're also claiming that somebody just made up a number and put it on a tax document and filed it with the government fraudulently. It's just stupid. Okay, those kind of lies bother me. That somebody would say something like that. Somebody runs with those lies also bothers me. So stop doing it. The When the budget literally comes out, and this is the total budget, as people had been telling us for years, somewhere in the one of the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels and Wakanda Forever, in that era, they stopped, and of course, COVID and all that caused this as well. These inflated budgets, they were just like, well, we can't justify $400 million for a movie. We just can't justify it. We get tax rebates, 100 million here, it's 30% here, it's of whatever you spend in this place, 15% total there, and it adds up to a portion. And it's always done this. They never reported it before, and they always calculated break even points based on the total budget, not any other incentives. They're counting on these incentives and tax rebates and breaks to make up a portion of that funding, and it's calculated into the total box office. Okay? The idea of that is thrown in there. The total box office for a movie used to be the multiplier 2.5 to 3 times, depends on how big of a budget of marketing you throw in there. Okay, you don't add the budget of marketing in there, but if there's the budget of the marketing is significantly higher than other movies and a big blockbuster and stuff like that, then they say, okay, we're gonna, we're gonna say it's 3 times. You do so $100 million movie, $300 million break even point. If it's a big budget blockbuster, they're really putting into marketing for it. If that's the fact, if it's the case. If not, 2.5 times, $250 million, and so forth. That's how you figure it. That's just keep this in your mind and don't let them confuse you anymore. They're lying to us all about the budgets all the time now. They don't tell us the truth about any of it. So the 170 million, you can't believe that. The first report that came out was about the same as what Superman's budget was, which again 363 million is that budget. They claimed 225 million, but they're like, no, we can't claim that. No, we can't do it. That's what they said in the history of things when that came out. They said there's no way we're gonna do that. Blah blah blah. Just like they said, there's no way we would put out a movie that had to make 500 million in the box office to be profitable. That's baloney. They did. It's 363 million till they have an amended tax document that says that is not the right number and that it's actually lower than that. Which it can be somewhat lower than that and still would be much higher than what they're claiming. The point is that Superman of 2025 did not break even, did not make its money back, lost at minimum something like 40 or 50 million. I forget. Go back and check those things out. This movie is not even tracking to make back the 170 million. At again 120. We'll just give it 120 million at the normal legs tracking idea now. 120 million global box office. Okay, if it's 120 million global box office, it's off 50 million off of its total there, but half of that 120 million, $60 million, goes to the theaters for the ticket sales, approximately half. So now I know it gets complicated in the math and stuff like that. First part of the weekend and all that, and how much it makes. The theater is gonna. It's already been running this movie down. It's taking it off of some IMAX screens or big screens uh, to allow Toy Story to play in that place. They're not gonna throw it up on the biggest money making place when the seats are going to sell out for Toy Story, and you're going to get 12 people in there maybe for Supergirl. Talking about IMAX screens, you might get them into the other seats. I'm not sure, but um, again, they keep reporting this after tax things. Even if you gave it 225 million, it's going to lose a lot of money. So again, 60 million, 170. That means it lost. Absolutely, it's going to wind up at this point. The low number, what they're trying to tell you, is $110 million. This movie has lost $110 million. And I forget somewhere I saw that number as the theory as to how much it would lose the company. That much money. Now they're trying to come out and say other things like promotional deals, and they're making money off these promotional deals and offset the costs and all that stuff. Maybe true, but again, till they give you a tax document and tell you the truth about what the budget was. And I think some of this, somebody said some of this was shot in the UK, so therefore in a few years we'll find out because they definitely put it in their reporting. Um, so you can discover a budget of a movie based on that. Of course, they may try to hide it at some point, studios, and do this. But the promotional deals, we've been hearing about the promotional dealings, and if you haven't heard, that's okay. But what we have here, I'm going to flip over to this and let you see it. This is Supergirl, 100 million plus promo partner campaign, biggest ever for Warner Brothers DC Studios. You know, only missing this campaign. That's what it says there. All right, by Anthony D'Alessandro. Now I've heard the name before. What I'm getting from this is that he's ridiculous. Supergirl takes the screen. She'll be the biggest Warner Brothers DC studio movie ever when it comes to promotional partnerships with 80 plus sponsors who are delivering 100 plus million in media value. That's not even counting consumer products. You got Ulta Beauty, OPI, it says Joico, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh man, people's reviews of the Kentucky Fried Chicken stuff have been bad. And not just because the Kentucky Fried Chicken itself is bad, but the stuff that they're putting out there is not any good either. Know when it comes to partnership, dollar amounts comprised of purchase of advertisements, retail store space, as well as campaign digital and linear impressions. And of these 80, 65 are international partners, 14 are North America, with 4 counting a global reach: Samsung, OPI, American Airlines, and Timex. Where's the other one? Doesn't say. Another big deal for, I add up 65 plus 14 is less than 80, and it says 80 plus sponsors. Come on, give us the receipts. They like to claim stuff, um, but they're not doing well with it. Anyway, uh, Milk Bone, Samsung, you got Timex, you got watches and stuff like that. Okay, interesting. Product placements and stuff, different things. This is the claim. This is amazing. Um, and they're trying to give the high thing. This weekend is currently expected to open at 50 million to 55 million in the box office. Let's see, another example can be seen with Progressive Superman, which marked the insurance company's third collaboration with Warner Brothers after Barbie and Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, uh, Progressive and Superman, um, and Barbie and Beetlejuice. Okay, so da 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 da. Just looking, I'm looking for some numbers as to the same, because they're calling this record breaking. It's the biggest of this. Um, Record breaking. And somebody I heard, and this may be where they get it wrong, was like smashing the record. It's just obliterating the previous and anything. It's so high above and beyond anything before it as far as this 100 million. So I'm going to give you the context of this in just a second, but try to understand this from another point of not a point of view perhaps, because they're talking about promo and partners. Okay, let's go over to this. Warner Brothers, Man of Steel, 2013, nabs 170 million in promotional details, 98 partners, more than the Dark Knight Rises, the Dark Knight Rises, sorry, and so forth. Do you hear? The Hollywood Reporter. Now this is Deadline. I don't know how great Deadline is, but somebody should have checked this and said, "What are you saying? Is it true?" Sure. Warner Brothers DC Studios started with what? Well, Creature Commandos and Peacemaker doesn't count for all of this. And Superman of last year. That's when it started. Now, it started as far as, um, figurehead, and they started productions and stuff like that, and or started plannings and whatever, back in 2023 or 2022, something like that. But no, that's that is a misleading headline. You know it is. You know that they're trying to say this is breaking these records. Well, it broke the record of Superman, which is faring to have done much better than Supergirl is going to turn out to do. 50 to 55 million when Superman supposedly made 125 million for its opening weekend, which is still less than Man of Steel before you adjust for inflation. And the 170 million is before you adjust for inflation. So only we get on that, we can go up over 200 million, okay, for the promotional things for Man of Steel. It's a way of manipulating the headlines. It's not really true, even though it's technically true. If you go back to, say, Warner Brothers, there's plenty of stuff that's much higher than this. The Dark Knight Rises is higher than this. Man of Steel is higher than this, and so forth. Superman is not, apparently, and AI just kept telling me, "Oh, it's just a little bit below it." Okay, really? I mean, is that how you want to play it? Okay, we'll deal with that. Um, but yeah, production and the return on investment, pathetic, pathetic. Even if everything they were saying was true, even if they got all their rebates and stuff like that, it's still losing $10 million based on what we've got just there. If we take it as a dollar for dollar thing with the promotional deals, but it's not dollar for dollar. It has to do with something else. It's a strange metric. It's an interesting statistic to look at and see how the movie's being promoted and stuff like that. But it's not telling us to how much the movie is making. The reason why, uh, it's not necessarily. It may be, in fact, the reason why that they released these numbers back for Superman was to say, this Man of Steel. I mean, in 2013 was we've done this. We this is more than um, than anything else before the Dark Knight Rises and so forth. It's promoted more and all these deals that we have, more numbers, more everything, um, and it is already serving to um, make its money back. It's already projected to do that. There's a weird projection about it. It's not that it gets the 170 million. It's that what's being put out there for it, and like it's promoting Mattel and Gillette and Chrysler and Hardee's was another thing, and so it has something incentive wise that it will get from that. Not dollar for dollar. The 170 million is an offset of advertising, and it doesn't work with dollar for dollar as I understand it still. So the idea is still that if it was advertising $100 million in advertising, this offsets that quite a bit. Okay, so the 100 million may offset a lot of the advertising in Supergirl. Still doesn't change what the production amount is, and that's what we've always in the past tried to base things on. Except now they're giving us false numbers, uh, illegitimate numbers that used to be uh, not considered because they had to be covered by the box office run. Now, the difference is that a movie that lost money a little bit based on that metric might still be somewhat profitable, when you get all the returns from all these other things that then add up. All you lost say $40 million, and then you get the tax incentive back, and it's like it's like, I don't know, 39 million, and then you get something from all of the promotional partners. You get a percentage of sales of a toy or a Lego or whatever. It was really real selling, and you got a couple $1 million. It now has made a little bit of money, and then it goes into physical media, and it sells, physical media wise, and makes its money back there, um, and so forth, and gets different deals, on different channels and networks and stuff like that, or ultimately streaming right now and things like that. That's how they make their money back over time later on somehow. And and it would be wonderful if an accountant for a movie studio came out and said, "Listen, we're just going to be honest with you, and I'm going to show you like 5 or 6 movies that and tell you exactly how we figure it and what the money is figured out." They probably can't do that because they're like ripping off the government. They're doing stuff shady with the taxes and everything else. They probably would never do that. So, um, but I'll leave that as it may be. Even if this movie made, though, another $100 million, it's still losing money. The break-even point of this at the 175 million. I'm not calculating this out. Would multiply it by 2.5. All right, and 2.5. I'm getting just by multiplying it by 2 is 350 million, and a half of the 175 million is in 50. Uh, Almost 40, so it's almost, we'll go with 80, um, so 415 or $10 million, something to that effect. That's, or was that 430? Anyway, going on the low end, $415 million is theorized break even point. I still think it's way up there, much higher, and we'll find out one day. But the problems with this movie is there are many different reasons, and they got to learn this. And you can watch other videos that show the same in more detail. But they claim this was based on a comic book run called Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, by Tom King. And I've heard some different theories about it. Most people I've heard said at best this is a mid comic. I've read the comic myself. I've read it kind of a couple of times, not entirely, because some of it you just don't really read. It's visuals. But I've read it in certain portions of it. I read several times, trying to figure out what he was saying, what was going on, and it's not well written. People say it's based on True Grit. It's old John Wayne movie, and then remade with Haley Steinfeld and Jeff Bridges. If you want to check those out and see what the story is, uh, and see between the two of them, which one is better, or whether they tell the story differently, or what they change and all that, you can do that. I'll watch them again someday. I just don't have the desire to go to the Western world right now, uh, as far as this is concerned. But it's supposed to be based on the comic book, and there's elements of the comic book that go in there. Krim is the name of the person. Krim of the Yellow Hills. Um, he kills Ruthie's family. Ruthie is in this movie. She's got the sword. She's offering it for um, kind of a bounty price of finding the man, letting her kill him, and you get the sword then. And the story goes on. You read the Tom King story. I wasn't impressed by it. I think there's a lot of things in it that are not good. I think that it had certain elements in it that make sense. They're right. They're not bad. I'll give you this little spoiler. Supergirl is 21 years old in this comic. She turns 21 at the beginning of the comic. That is why she's on another planet, drinking her sorrows away, because she's now of legal age to drink alcohol, but she can't do it under yellow sun. She's got to get to a red planet, red sun planet, red sun planet. so that she can be affected by and inebriated by the alcohol. And it's just to get drunk that night, not to party with a bunch of people and stuff like that. Big difference between that and the movie. The movie is telling a different character than the character that's in even Tom King's version of Supergirl. And I just don't resonate with Tom King's version of Supergirl in much of what's being done. Um, Although, like I said, there's always going to be points like it's kind of like the producers of DC Comics say, no, you will have in there that her basic quality and core character is this, and you will not allow her to do this, that, and the third, and you will not. But they don't do that for these movies, so it's kind of weird. That or they're just allowing it to happen, saying, yeah, go ahead, you do what you want to do with the movie. But anyway, putting that aside, it doesn't match the comic book. It doesn't tell the story of the comic book. It doesn't give the morals of the comic book. It doesn't give the the basic the character basics and stuff like that. An example is Ruthie. She's teenager or whatever. It's her story in the comic book. It's not a Supergirl story. It's the story of Ruthie, and she's writing, and she wrote a book about the story of Supergirl. So it's kind of a mixture of things there in a sense, but it's Ruthie's story, wanting revenge, and the arc of that character. There's nothing in Supergirl. Supergirl is the mentor and teaches Ruthie things. So, an example, as other people have already pointed out, in the comic book, they're about to sit down to eat. Ruthie has dirty hands. We're going to go to the bathroom. We're going to wash these hands. And she taught Ruthie these things about life. That's the an ongoing thing. She's a mentor to Ruthie. She's kind of growing her up, all right, and teaching her um, a variety of things. But one thing, washing hands. Oh my goodness, so many times was I wanting them to find a basin of water and splash it on their face and wash their hands and clean it underneath their fingernails. My goodness. I could not believe how dirty this film is. This film is filled with dirt and filth. And I'm talking about just literal, not even talking about the moral things and the want to create a character, a villain that's just disgusting and dirty. He is, but he's cleaner than them. It's bad. I don't like it. I dislike it. I mean, it's not much like the comic book. The movie is quite different. The movie doesn't have the right cuts, but I've been trying to figure out if you could recut it. It's like, no, not really. Not unless you just started it with the escape from planet Krypton by uh, Kara's parents, because she's born. Um, Bear with me just a second here. She's born 9 years later. Wow, that's interesting that they did that. Now they were trying to make her about 10 years younger than Clark, but anyway, 9 years had to pass by um, in that. But they could have started it with Argo. You've seen in the trailer where the force field goes around it, captures it, and somehow lifts it up into space. Um, and people were talking about how um, my theory is Argo's still floating around Krypton's sun somehow. It's still orbiting, okay? And she just thinks this is a normal planetary thing. This is the normal place. She doesn't see any difference between it and anywhere else because she's never been anywhere else, right? So the idea that you get from it is it could have started that way because she finds crypto uh, at the burial of her mother. I'd already told you spoilers, so don't mess up on this. They give her lessons at the end of life and build the rocket ship, and it just could have shown the growing up and doing of Argo as all the backstory. Um, they could have done it in one single flashback, and her going to Earth and meeting Clark as the last part of it, um, and being the Metropolis and putting the um, headphones on. There's no reason for those headphones except it's like James Gunn like. James Gunn had his hand in this for sure, and we'll talk about some other stuff coming up to us in the history of it. The I think that's the only way you could do it because it's broken up. The flashbacks are throughout the film in different places. But John Campea, give him credit for this, said they missed an opportunity because after they shoot Crypto and have him kind of knocked out of the picture, they then tell you in flashbacks why Crypto is so connected in a way, sort of, to Kara. And they don't tell you that until after the fact. They don't explain to you that until after that fact. So they missed the opportunity to put in that emotional hook in the story to where you care about Crypto, where you care about the relationship and you think, yeah, Crypto is about to die and this is what he means to her. Therefore, we are going with her on this journey and we're gonna work through these things that she's thinking and what she's been doing at the beginning. They still could have had a lot of what's in the beginning as it is, and then you know, but they just needed to mush together a bunch of flashback scenes from later and put it in to an earlier portion of the film before Ruthie gets involved. Um, or at the latest, the night after she meets Ruthie, she goes home to sleep, and maybe they have, a dream of what's going on, and boom, 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 and she wakes up and goes from there. But there are so many things that are thrown in there that I guarantee, even though I don't know what is reshoots, that James Gunn has his hand in it. So going to pre-production and getting into some details so that you can know. Pre-production was officially this was announced in January 2023. The project entered active development pre-production May of 2024. So that's more than a year later. Upon the hiring of Craig Gillespie. Now they weren't supposed to greenlight any projects until they had a solid script. None of this says anything about the script being written and rewritten or whatever. But we'll throw in some theories to it. Again, project was announced. The director was hired. Then the director's gonna say, "This is my take on Supergirl and this script that I got," or "I'm gonna work with somebody because this is the story and here's the script." Whoever's going to work on the script gets out. It all depends on where you're at. But if they pitch a movie with an idea, they follow that idea, create a script, or they get a script and they say this is how I would play this movie. At least that's the way I understand it. You can tell me different in the comments below. Principal photography began January 13th, 2025. Another year in development before they began photography. And they officially wrapped in May of 2025. That means all the pre-production in that year of building sets or building toward creating the costume and stuff like that, and all the little things that go into that. The costume is different than it was in the end of Superman. You can see that yourself by looking at it. There are about 3 or 4 changes in the costume. It's very similar, but there's 3 or 4 very noticeable changes in the costume. Anyway, wrapped in May of 2025. They, start putting it together to show it to people, and they did, and they showed it to James Gunn, to other people. It was like, did we do enough, James Gunn? He was like, no, not at all. Let's add this, that, and 3 other things, and uh, all these stupid jokes and dirty jokes and filth jokes, and probably another character played by somebody. You'll probably know who I'm talking about. Little guy. Anyway, reshoots and additional photography conducted in October of 2025 to add scenes and expand connections to the broader DCU. Superman was added to the film. Lobo was added somewhere in there. I want to say it was earlier on that they said we're going to announce Lobo. I forget, and I don't know. I can't really look it up very quickly. But in any case, the post production ran from mid 2025, around Superman's time, to early summer June 2026, culminating in a final runtime of 1 hour and 47 minutes. Now, in this period of time, from May 2025 into October, they got all these other scenes that they've added. I think that they had to do it another time because this underwent over 10 test screenings, which is notably high. The average is 3, I believe. And it featured 3 different endings during the testing phase. And there's supposed to be there's several things that say that, but bleeding cool and so forth. That might be the wrap of the production. And landed in London. Oh man, they promoted this overseas and everything. Supergirl reshoots and scenes and added scenes of Clark. Cut nearly 25 minutes to get down to the 1 hour and 47 minutes, which includes credits, by the way. And what did they cut out and what did they add? They added some certain things. Final lock, it says, or completed was March 2026, which I remember it's still being talked about after that, on into May, I believe. And with 10, screenings and they're coming out, this is disappointing. There's something cool about it, but there's not something great about it. Not only were there 3 distinct endings, there were 3 distinct composers who were talked about before locking in the final score. You want to find out about that? Let's go to that. Number 1, this guy named Ramin Djawadi, I believe is how you pronounce that name, announced as original composer in December of 2025. December 2025. This started production. You usually have, suites and stuff being built long before this. Filming date was in January of 2025. They come on in December 2025. Now, I will grant that they many times finish the shooting and then bring the person on so they can start scoring scenes. Stuff that they like, we're going to have this right here. We're going to have it wrapped in May, didn't get a composer until December. And I feel like there was another name attached, like the Superman composer was attached before this. I feel like there was another name. All right? I don't remember. But anyway, they're saying December. December, January, and then February. February 6th, it was announced that Tom Hulkenborg, Junkie XL, replaced Djawadi on February 6th, 2026. That's 2 months and some days. Shifting the film toward whatever, we're not going to talk about that, his style of music. I heard very quick, that like came out, that was February 6th. February 6th is the weekend. I I follow Tom Hulkenberg on social media on Instagram, and he was posting things, here and there. Never posted a thing about Supergirl. Never said, "Hey, they hired me for Supergirl. What do y'all think about this?" Da da da. It was done on the weekend, and it was like the very next news cycle, weekend after the weekend when people came back around. It was like all of a sudden, oh no, he was gone. They're going to replace him with somebody else. So it was very short lived. Claudia Sarne officially took over as the third and final composer on March 11th, 2026. March 11th, 2026. April, May, June. Do you understand? 3 months. That gives her about 3 months to score the thing. But there's needle drops. That's a music song choice that's thrown in there. There's at least three, maybe more. And as another person said, none of them are good. None of them are good. And my thought about it is if it's going to be a song, it should have been something better. It's very much James Gunn. And the people that are hyping the movie that are supposed to be really well in the know are not listening, or they're ignoring, or they're trying to not present the truth, meaning they're lying to you about these things. I personally don't think Tom Hulkenborg was ever actually involved. They just named him, and he heard it maybe a week later and said, "No, no, 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 I'm not going to do that." Or maybe they contacted him and said, "Hey, we want you to do this. Check the film out." And he watched the film and was like, I can't do this. What are you doing? Y'all are going to cut this thing to smithereens, based on the fact of what it looks like now, and what I'm hearing from, other things going on around in February. It's already had test screenings. This has changed two or three times. Blah blah blah, and so forth. I mean, what are you gonna do? I think he very kindly bowed out without making a fool of them. I think that's what he did. He said, "Listen, you hired somebody else. I'll let you say it was me, and I just didn't. We're not going to give an official reason. Basically, they haven't done it. They haven't given any official reason for Supergirl having so many. Why did they leave the first one? I'm trying to remember what he did. Um, Dwaji. Oh, he did the score for Clash of the Titans. I would probably enjoy that. All right, so where's the scores? Career. Oh, garnered attention of Hans Zimmer. Recruited him to remote control productions. Worked with Klaus Badelt. Um, made additional music and arrangements for Badelt and Zimmer movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, The Time Machine, and Oscar Award nominated film Something's Gotta Give. System Shock 2, Beat the Drum, don't know much of them. He went out on his own with Blade Trinity, collaborating with Raza, RZA, Raza, for director David S. Goyer. So this is interesting. I mean, it sounds like it could have been good. I'd like to hear him release the Dwaji, Dwadi cut. Release the Dwadi music. Um, and then I'd like to hear anything that Tom Holkenborg put in there for it. They won't do that because they could always reuse it somewhere else. And it goes into some other movies and stuff. Clash of the Titans. I like Clash of the Titans. I don't dislike the music in it at all. I would like to have it and listen to it. Pacific Rim, okay. There's a lot of stuff. So what happened? What happened? What happened was, and I promise you, I didn't hear really a lot of score. There's some in there. In fact, the score is building and everything to a part of the final battle, and it changes to a needle drop. It is James Gunn influenced 1002 million%. I know that's weird, but it is absolutely atrocious in my opinion. I despise what he did there. Now, I will say this for your spoilers and stuff. Um, this movie was seen. Everything that is on the screen fleshed out is in trailers, TV spots, or released clips. You can put them into the order of the film, and boom, you've got it a little bit expanded, a little bit extended, but you get everything. This marketing campaign completely spoils everything in the movie except one scene which you could guess at the nearly the very end. And that could have been done five probably different ways and been much better to do it those ways. But any one of them, you know, uh, and not really trying to spoil it. It is not the comic book ending. It is not the way it should have been done. But you have Supergirl ultimately killing Krim right after telling Ruthie she can't do it because it'll ruin her and all this, and she's a good, so therefore, uh, don't don't do this. She goes and does it, wearing the Superman outfit that they said. This shows that we're good. We wear this because it's a little colorful, but it's in a release, either a comic, not a comic, a trailer or a scene release where the suit is given to her by Superman Kal-El Clark, um, and he says we wear this. It's colorful, but we wear it because it shows people that we are good. I think that's not a very good line. It's poorly written. It's thrown in there to try to jam that idea into your mind that's why she's wearing it, or maybe that's not why she's not wearing it at the beginning of the film, and so forth. And trying to tell a story that doesn't exist in this movie, and that's the sad part of it. Is the movie had several things that could have made it hooks, you know, and to uh, disenfranchise, if you will, some fake statements by people. It has been reported by some people that Lobo is in the Tom King comic. He is not. There's a rumor going around that he wanted him to be in the thing, but they didn't. They, meaning the producers at DC, did not allow for him to use Lobo in the series of comic books. It would have made some sense to do that and use him in a certain capacity. He could have been used in that capacity. They missed the opportunity to use him in the two or three capacities as far as trying to get the bounty. He's a bounty hunter and trying to get the bounty out of the brigands. There's several ways they could have gone with it, and they didn't choose any of them. They didn't choose anything at the end except for, hey, we're going to let Kara kill. Our hero is going to kill the antagonist of the film. And it's going to, the main villain, she's going to kill him because he deserves it, based on what he did to the girl. And what he did to the dog, of course, the other thing that she does. But all that. Does it work? No, it doesn't work. It's not written well. They missed hook opportunities. They missed that emotional hook opportunity. They missed the opportunity, several opportunities, to make Crypto look better. They had him running around without a cape on the entire time. No cape, no collar. He might have had a collar at some point, but he had no cape attached to it, uh, like as in the first movie. Now he goes off with the cape on him. I think he should have had the cape at some point in the movie, especially after the end where he's brought back and is running around with him playing and stuff like that. He probably should have put on the outfit, if you will. It's a cape, is all it is. So, um, I don't want to get bored talking about this, but it is a muddy film, a dirty film. It is bland. It is dark. There's lighting problems. And I understand, like, it's showing in space where the sun is over behind Kara, so therefore the other side is dark. I get that. At the same time, they got a ship coming up that has lights on it. You know, shine the lights, and then you got some light on the character. And it probably could have looked better, but it just didn't look good. It wasn't. Trying to think of what I really want to say with that, and I don't know if I can get anything into it. Well, this this wasn't well shot for the most part. There were many copycatted areas. People say she copycatted Furiosa with the Scream. Uh, with the Scream, I don't know. They may have digitally unhinged her jaw, Millie Alcock's jaw. Because I don't know that her mouth gets that wide. Most people can open their mouth, you know, four fingers and in a singing pose, and they can get their four fingers into their mouth when they, wide mouth. This was bigger than that. So it was kind of crazy. But anyway, that's just one thing, and I don't think it played like they really wanted it to. That was what a lot of people were saying. That's a good looking, cool looking shot here. She was going out of the atmosphere or through the clouds, and it was breaking them apart. She came out of the atmosphere, and it, rolled apart. It was pretty cool. In a sense, there was a coolness to the shot, but at the same time, it was darker than even the trailer, as I remember it anyway. Now, I did watch it in 3D twice, and the 3D is okay. There's not really any kind of problem with it, but um, it's not necessary. It doesn't really affect things. I remember watching Justice League 2017 in 3D and then watching it later on, not in 3D, and I was like, there's a noticeable difference here. The special effects look better with it in 3D. It either hides them or it was meant to be in 3D, and therefore it's that's why it doesn't look right to me. That's that's the best I can say about it. Is this um, in 3D? It is nothing to write home to, but it's fine. And the special effects pretty much are fine either way you look at them. There's, getting back to copyrights or copycats. They copy out of Man of Steel. They copy from Superman, or that is Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's Superman. It's closer to Man of Steel than it is to David Cornsweat's Superman. Um, the whole uh, that part of the scene and stuff. I'm not saying this is much like Snyder's. I'm saying they've used some proven things, and they try to end it quickly so that you don't really see it, but you really do see it. And even the flashbacks may be inspired by Zack Snyder, but they didn't know how to tell the story well. You know, if they did know how to tell the story well, then they they really should put that out, but they didn't, and the editors didn't know how to put it together right and stuff like that. And I think that what I just said already would probably solve a lot of problems. Would be putting those flashbacks, most of them, into the first moments of the film, either right at the beginning, like it's part of the dream she has, ongoing, or um, it's a flashback in her mind, right after she wakes up. She flashes back to, her history. Whatever she has to say. I mean, there's all kinds of MacGuffins to get you into the reason why she has the flashback. Masters of the Universe did it well by telling the story to a date. That's how he told his backstory, and they put it almost all in there, maybe all of it in there, and then said, "All right, there you go," and we tell the story. And it was that movie is a far better film, far better film than this one is. All right, far better. Masters of the Universe is very good. It's unfortunately not making much in the box office, but it is like number 4 or 5 right now, so it's still up in the top 10. Uh, and so is Michael. Michael's number 9, and hopefully that surpasses Oppenheimer here in a little bit, and we get to put out some reporting of that nature. But anyway, the idea of this movie doesn't exist. I guess. What were you trying to say? You introduce the character. Okay, that's the character. Boom. Uh, for some reason, they think she's a drunk, flying around everywhere, partying kind of gal. She announces it's her birthday, and so therefore she's celebrating her birthday over a period of time, birthday weeks and stuff like that. And that's the story you get, right? Or that's not the story because it's based on the story by Tom King, which is kind of accurate that Ruthie's family is murdered and Krim of the Yellow Hills is being chased down. But they take quite a long time to chase him down in the book, and this they do in less than 3 days. And it is what it is, you know. But it's poorly written, and that may be. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say that could be because uh, the story itself is not very good. But when we're trying to adapt it, then um, why is hmm hmm I kind of lost my train of thought there. So you lose the train of thought. To be able to enjoy this film, you're gonna enjoy just moments and seconds and stuff like that, little tidbits of a moment. I enjoyed the place where Man of Steel was copied. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, cool, cool. Okay, cool, cool. I enjoyed, in spite of the needle drop, the final kind of ultimate battle which you see in the trailers. In spite of the bad looks that are given, oh man, that could have been debated how to change that and then fix it, anytime. Uh, in spite of the fact that it opens up, with that stupid joke of crypto peeing on the newspaper directly on Superman's head. Um, despite these things, it could have reached out for a story. It just it There are incompetent people that have made this film. there are the people who made this film are one, either they're doing their job the best they can, given the material that they're given, which is probably most of it. We had to see if somebody would release this Gillespie cut. Um, and it's just, it's ridiculous. Just the movie is full of ridiculous little sub points, if you will, and stuff like that. Um, and trying to build the story. The story should be built around Supergirl, what she dealt with, and her uh, going on this adventure and going through a process of change. If you wanted to start it out with her being a drunk and party girl, um, and whatever else she is there, I'm not going to get into it all. She is not a role model. She doesn't go on a journey that improves or anything like that. Or they're trying to say that your journey improves based on this action that you can take. And either lesson is very bad, or the fact that there is no lesson at all is very bad. Anyway, I can't stay on this like this. I don't want to. Um, I don't want to say waste my time, but I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time. There is nothing of value or good in what I said, and there's nothing good in this movie really. It just, except for a few minor shots, the whole thing should have been better shot, better cinematography. You gotta do better than this. You know, y'all got to do better than this, and they're not going to. And I'm looking forward to them closing down. Saffron and Gunn leaving DC and Warner Brothers, and let the Ellisons bring back Zack Snyder, Henry Cavill, and the rest of the cast and crew, and get them on the next Snyderverse movie, which I think should start out with Superman. Uh, call it Man of Tomorrow. Get rid of the one that James Gunn and them were creating, and let Henry Cavill do what he was planning on doing. Let him get it. Let it get going, and see where it goes. In the meanwhile, Zack Snyder's doing a whole lot of great stuff, and we'll talk about that another time. Sorry, I am kind of nodding off. I'm a little tired. Not, I haven't gotten much sleep, but I did try to stay somewhat focused. But this is really how you feel in the film. It's like, what? What's going on? Why is that? Huh? What is the world? And I can't think of a lot of ways to fix it, but I've got a couple from the beginning and the ending to try to bring you into an emotional hook, and then guide you through the story, and then have the ending be more like the comic book, which I believe it should have been more like the comic book, basically. All right, that's enough for now, though. I will see you the next video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave comments below. Let me know what you thought about the movie. If you are, uh, well, if you're watching me now, then you're in the spoiler territory. I'm not giving any more spoilers, but I forgot what movies were coming out too, so I can't tell you that. But no, we'll be done with it, and let you get about your day. If you go and see it, lower your expectations. Maybe it'll bring him up a little bit. You say, "Oh, it's better than I was expecting it to be based on all the reviews that were out there." If that's the way you feel about it, I doubt that anybody actually feels that way about it. There's anyway. What they do with the character is just not good. All right. So you get that. We'll see you in the next video. I don't know when it'll be or what it'll be about. Maybe it'll be about um, the Snyderverse or the DC universe, or I forget, something that needs to be said about something. Yeah. So let's go. We'll see you next time. Bye.